We have a lot to get to tonight, starting with the heat. It is hot out there, obviously. Hopefully you survive the heat this weekend because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Unfortunately, triple digits will remain in the forecast this week. So go ahead and prepare now because just yesterday, Sacramento hit a record high of 109 degrees. This was the view at the State Fair. Many people waited until the sun went down so they could enjoy the fair in a little bit more favorable conditions. And tonight, Boys to Men is playing at the fair to a sold-out crowd. And then take a look at this. A giant thermometer in Death Valley was registering at an unofficial 132 degrees. People drove to Death Valley this weekend to experience the heat wave. Temperatures at or above 130 degrees have only been recorded on Earth a handful of times, mostly at Death Valley. And with the heat, there were some power outages. We'll be talking about that in just a minute. But first, Monica is here with more on how hot it's about to get yet again, right, Monica?
Right. Before we get to that heat, though, we are going to get some break primarily Tuesday into Wednesday, which is going to be nice because we at least need a little gap in between these stretches of 100s. This morning's lows really got our attention, starting off in the 70s to right around to 80 throughout the valley. So unofficially, we have a couple of warmest lows on record for Sacramento Executive, Modesto, and Marysville. Right now, downtown Sacramento tying that record at 75 degrees. We won't have the official record in the books until midnight. So if we hold at that level, it'll be a record setter. Afternoon highs today dropping a little bit for Sacramento and Fairfield below that 100-degree threshold. Everybody else with less access to that breeze holding right about 100. However, right now it is starting to kick in just a little bit. It is bringing our temperatures down below 100 for Sacramento, Elk Grove, and Fairfield, even Roseville right now at 99 degrees. Everybody else throughout the valley still around 100. But tonight we're going to see much better clearing. We won't have that cloud cover to kind of cap us with that overnight relief from the heat, which usually escapes in the clear overnight skies. But we did not have that last night. We held on to that cloud cover. So we get a brief break from the heat. It returns by the end of the work week as a building ridge of high pressure starts to return. And that gets us back into the major category for heat risk in through parts of the valley. It's not going to be as widespread as certainly what we saw over this past weekend. Here comes that ridge of high pressure building back towards the end of the work week. But again, Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be our breaks from the heat. Highs tomorrow in the Sierra in the 80s, 90s to near 100 down the hill. A couple of degrees cooler than today. 60s along the coast, and that's really what's going to be pulling in towards the valley. Our highs for tomorrow dropping into the lower 90s, where we have access to that breeze all the way from Davis through Sacramento and Elk Grove, even Galt at 94 degrees. A little farther from that wind, we are going to continue to see those highs in the upper 90s to near 100. That 10-day forecast still ahead, Alex.
All right, thanks, Monica. And it's been a brutal and potentially dangerous time to not have air conditioning, and some people lost power over the weekend because of heat-related issues. So our Roxanne Elias has been in several neighborhoods today looking for repairs underway. PG&E tells us they are hard at work.
Alex, PG&E crews are used to working through all the conditions, including this harsh heat, and they want people to be aware that they're working around the clock, 7 days a week, 24 hours, ready to respond to anything in case your power goes out. The hot weather is keeping utility crews on their toes.
Definitely a busy weekend. We've still have a few outages today that we're tackling. And we're hoping for the moderate weather will help the outage situation.
Over the weekend, PG&E saw a fairly large power outage in El Dorado County, also in the Woodland and Fairfield areas. The cause is under investigation for some, but the heat is definitely throwing a wrench in outages.
What we're seeing largely are heat-related outages, either in equipment failure, because with the very hot days and very hot nights, people are using a lot of air conditioning, and our equipment that normally gets a chance to cool down at night doesn't get that chance, especially with the warm overnight temperatures.
Paul Moreno says they have what he describes as a modern on-call system for employees coming in once a power outage happens. They have crews on standby and materials such as transformers on hand so they can respond quickly.
When crews pinpoint the outage, they can actually isolate that portion of the grid from the grid so we can restore power to most customers even before the damage is completely repaired.
Moreno says they know it's hot out and understand having power is a necessity.
The power outage at 11 o'clock at night, we call in crews to go and work on that power outage. We don't wait until the next business day to come out and work on that. We respond right away, and oftentimes can get the power back on to most or all customers within short order.
Some of the things that you can do to prepare for one of these outages is to make sure to draw your blinds down and try to block out some of that sun. Another thing is to keep your refrigerator closed as much as possible, and all of those electronics that you have at home, try to keep them all charged up and ready to go just in case. Alex?
All right, thank you, Roxanne. And the state power grid, it did hold up over the weekend, but still people are encouraged to use less energy when possible. You can help save money on your electric bill when doing very simple things like setting your air conditioner to 78 degrees or higher, turning off unnecessary lights, and then unplug devices that you're just not using. And of course, as Roxanne mentioned, closing the blinds can also help keep some of those areas cool. And to stay up to date on the heat, don't forget to download the free ABC 10 app for a closer look at temperatures right in your area. Again, this is free on your device's app store. All right, it has been a busy day in the news, so here's what else that we've been talking about. A bear is on the loose in Auburn. This video was taken yesterday near Dairy Road. Residents believe it is the same bear that has been rummaging through backyards this afternoon. The Department of Fish and Wildlife is looking into it and are urging people to stay away from the bear if you do see it. Sacramento State has a new president. 41-year-old J. Luke Wood starts this week, and he's a Sacramento State graduate, and he comes from San Diego State. He tells ABC 10 that he is dedicated to helping students succeed and increase the graduation rate. He also plans to focus on college, athletics, and housing for students. You can find our full-length interview with Luke Wood on abc10.com. And tonight, friends and family are grieving the loss of a 15-year-old girl. She was killed in this crash yesterday in Granite Bay. Tonight, we're getting more answers about what happened and why people in this area say that this is a problem intersection that is a hotbed for crashes. Our Gina Nguyen reports from Granite Bay.
The CHP says that crash happened here at this intersection at Barton and Douglas just after 5:30 on Sunday evening. And as you can see behind me, this is a very busy intersection. And for the people familiar with this area, say they're not surprised to hear about another crash happening at this spot. According to the CHP, a 16-year-old boy was driving a Jeep going westbound on Douglas, approaching a red light at Barton. Inside the Jeep was a 16-year-old girl in the passenger seat and a 15-year-old girl in the back seat. While it's still unclear as to how this happened, the CHP says the Jeep continued through the intersection, hitting an SUV. Matthew Zook's family has worked at this fruit stand at the corner of this intersection for the past 20 years, and he says he's not surprised to see yet another crash, even seeing this crash himself.
I think some people have some sort of confusion, or it's people are not paying attention so easily, and then they're just hitting each other in the back and stuff.
The CHP says the Jeep flipped over and the 15-year-old in the back seat was ejected. She passed away at the hospital because of her injuries. Now, on our way to this intersection, ABC 10 also saw another crash just a few feet away from this intersection. Now, Matthew Zooks tells me he believes that the amount of crashes happening at this intersection could be decreased if people just paid more attention.
Coming up onto the point, a sting operation putting a Stockton man behind bars for alleged sex trafficking, how local agencies and the state are cracking down. Plus, a nationwide doctor shortage, how it's now impacting UC Davis medical care and the message that they have for patients tonight. And Hollywood remains on strike. 160,000 actors have joined writers on the picket lines. What it's done to California's economy off the set.
As far as revenue, I'm looking at losing about $100,000 a month.
We're taking a look back at the last strike and its impacts to the Golden State. Welcome back. A nationwide doctor shortage is now impacting healthcare right here in Northern California. UC Davis Health tells us that due to overwhelming demand, they are currently not accepting new patients for adult outpatient medical services in most of their primary care clinics. Now, we're seeing this nationwide as the demand for primary care physicians is outpacing the supply. In a study from the Association of American Medical Colleges, they say that this is due in part to a growing and aging population with more specialty needs for older Americans. Also, the COVID pandemic led to burnout for many medical professionals who left the field or opted to just retire early. So if you are looking to book a new patient appointment at UC Davis Health. Here's what they are telling us. They say that new patients who wish to sign up for primary care services can join a waiting list or try again in a few months. UC Davis Health is working to continue to increase patient care staffing and meet the increased post-pandemic demand for healthcare services. And you already know we reached out to other healthcare providers about their staffing and acceptance of new patients. We'll let you know if we hear anything that might be changing. Still ahead in tonight's main point, taking a stand against sex trafficking, the sting operations, and the warning signs that you should be watching for. In tonight's main point, we're talking about cracking down on sex trafficking because for years we've been covering the issue with our series called Selling Sex. Now, local law enforcement agencies have held sting operations. The detective has even written a book about the experience. And now law enforcement and even state lawmakers are back at it again. As our Luke Cleary reports, more arrests have been made this summer, and lawmakers agree that more needs to be done.
A Stockton man is behind bars, charged with human trafficking of a minor, sexual assault, possession of child pornography, and other charges. He was making plans online to pick up a 17-year-old, but he was really talking to investigators with the Stanislaus Task Force Against Human Trafficking in an undercover operation.
And he wanted her to go with him to Los Angeles and prostitute her out for the whole weekend.
Veronica Escovez with the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office says the man had a live victim with him at the time, another 17-year-old girl.
Yes, he had a live victim with him. And he was arrested for sexual acts with her and for human trafficking with the live victim as well.
The arrest comes just weeks after a Sacramento County Sheriff's Office crackdown on child pornography resulted in 23 arrests.
Parents, be on guard about who your child's communicating with. Be on guard about who your friends are, because adults take advantage of children all the time, and we don't want to see it happen.
In the California Assembly, Democrats revived a bill to increase penalties for child traffickers after initially killing it in committee.
We got to stop these repeat offenders. They cannot get out in 1 year. We got to just stop it, and we need to find out why.
A rare bipartisan breakthrough.
Many Democrats are starting to say, look, this policy that we've had for years, this failed criminal justice experiment that we've had in this state for the last 8 years, it can't continue.
The Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department says predators lure young people with big promises.
You'll be able to have all these nice things like get your nails done or get clothes and shoes and makeup. So these girls kind of start seeing it as maybe a way for them to earn their own money, but they don't realize just how dangerous it could become for them and how easily they can be taken away from their homes.
And it's important for parents to monitor their kids' social media and other activities online. It's a lot easier than you might think for these predators to lure kids into very bad situations. The average age of child sex trafficking victims reported missing is 15 years old, and 87% of victims are under the age of 25. And there are things that you can look out for to help protect children. According to the Sacramento nonprofit Weave, indicators of sex trafficking may include frequent or unexplained absences from school, frequent traveling or moving, and then expensive items that younger people just can't afford. Age discrepancy between the younger person and their older boyfriend or girlfriend, and signs of drug or alcohol use. All right, talking money now. You might have driven by it on the way to the Bay. Golden Gate Fields, an institution of sorts, is going away. Its horse racing operations will be gone by the end of the year. And this is a spot that people stop at just before the Bay Bridge. It's in Albany, California. And as for its reason for closing its operations, well, that's still unknown right now. The group that owns Golden Gate Fields says that they are going to double down on their venues at Santa Anita Park and San Luis Rey Downs. But animal activists who have been calling for the shutdown of the Golden Gate Fields for some time are taking credit for the closure.
Today, I'm thinking about the horses. I'm thinking about all of the horses that went through the confinement at Golden Gate Fields that we were actively trying to eliminate. I'm thinking about all of the horses that died at Golden Gate Fields before we were able to shut this place down.
While 8 horses have died at the track this year, ownership claims that horse fatalities across the state are down more than 50% over the last 5 years, making California among the safest states for thoroughbred racing. And you have a little less than, let's see, 2 hours to get a Powerball ticket. Lottery mania has hit the country again. The next drawing is at 7:59 tonight. The jackpot for tonight has soared to $900 million after no winner was declared on Saturday night. So tonight's jackpot is now the 9th largest in Powerball history. The most ever won was just over $2 billion back in November. More than half of the largest jackpots have happened just within the last 3 years, if you didn't know. And a massive strike continues in Hollywood tonight. It has shut down productions, and experts believe that this could last for a long time. Both SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild unions are demanding better wages and protections against artificial intelligence. Last week, 160,000 SAG-AFTRA actors joined Hollywood writers on the picket lines, and this is the first time since the 1960s that Hollywood actors and screenwriters picketing outside movie studios have gone on strike in tandem. Actor Kevin Bacon showed his support.
I'm here for the working class, middle class part of our union, who needs these basic provisions in the basic contract.
The AMPTM, the association representing TV and movie studios and streaming services, says they offered actors historic pay and residual increases and protections for actors' digital likeness from AI, but their offer was rejected. Tonight, Los Angeles mayor is urging people to get back to the negotiating table for the financial benefit of everyone in her city and the industry. Many businesses offset are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. One floral prop house near the movie studios told our ABC station in Los Angeles that she laid off more than half her workers just a few weeks after the writers went on strike, and her phones have been silent ever since. So here's how much she says that she's been losing.
As far as revenue, I'm looking at losing about $100,000 a month.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I'm a small company. That's a lot of money.
And she says that she thinks there is enough money in the industry to make everyone happy. And we were wondering, how much could this big industry in California lose during this time? There are a few estimates out there, and the Milken Institute took a look at the 100-day writer strike back from 2007 and put the economic losses at more than $2 billion. And that was 15 years ago. In a new report from Moody's Investor Services, analysts estimate the cost to studios to update the writers and actors union contracts could be up to $600 million. And some top studio executives believe if an agreement is not reached by Christmas, there will be hardly any new programs to even watch. Coming up after the break, happy birthday to Disneyland. The theme park just turned 68 years old. We're going back in time to opening day. And let's go ahead and take a look at your 10-day forecast here. As Monica said, that heat not going anywhere anytime soon. Looking at Tuesday, seeing 93, Wednesday at 95, and then, man, triple digits as we get closer to Thursday. All right, so we are going back in time to a point in time for a happy birthday.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
Now, that was Walt Disney on this day back in 1955. It's when Disneyland first opened. And after 1 year of construction and $17 million later, the park held its opening day that was intended for just 11,000 guests and press, but 28,000 people ended up showing up. Opening day was telecast by ABC, and on the first day, open to the general public, the park had 5 themed lands with 20 attractions. And get this, the theme park only cost $1 for adults and 50 cents for children. Could you even imagine that? All right, you already know we always like to end the show on what we're working on for tomorrow. So coming up on Tuesday, we are headed to California's largest stream gauge cableway. What is the stream gauge cableway? Well, all right, let me go ahead and tell you before I butcher this anymore. It's a device that's used for the U.S. Geological Service to measure flow in rivers and creeks. Data collected from stream gauges, there we go, I got it, help decide when to release water from dams. And ABC 10's John Bartel followed the data collectors to the Sacramento River to watch them glide across the state's longest cableway to position their instruments in the river.
We have more than double the amount of water flowing now than we did the last couple of years during this time.
And the cableway is 25 feet up and more than 1,000 feet across. John Bartel shows us what it takes to get an accurate water measurement. and an outlook for the future. So make sure you watch this story tomorrow at 6:30 on To The Point. Hopefully I can learn how to pronounce it. We'll see you later. Have a great night. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.